we joined that franchise. We built our brokerage to about 120 agents. And now it's around 2014. The REO market's going away. So we're back to traditional, sales and that kind of thing. And I started thinking, man, I don't think I want to do this. What can we sell this company?
Mm.
We started looking at what it would take to sell the company. And for any of you guys who have brokerages out there, small brokerage, big, whatever, they look at a couple of things. Number one, are you profitable? And are you profitable without you as the broker owner? Can this company run? Is it self-sustainable without you in charge? And then I was part of a franchise, so it's only 5 years into a 10-year agreement. And so I would have had to have sold it to somebody who wanted to operate that franchise. And it was a relatively young, not very well-known franchise. So when I started to pull my production out of the equation and really looked at the company, we were hemorrhaging, right? 3 offices, 8,000 square feet, copiers, printers, staff, marketing. I mean, the list goes on and on. I was like, well, this is insane. I could literally go back to being just do my own deal, run my own team, and I could probably make a ton more money. So we went round and round for a bit. We finally sat down. I went to the franchisors. They're like, oh, no, it's your fault. You're not profitable. I was like, okay, whatever. So we ended up shutting the doors. We closed the doors. And 100 of our agents scattered like ants, so to speak. They went running off to other brokerages. 20 of them said, we're going wherever you go. I'm like, okay. So we got out of the franchise, went back to being just a small little independent, had no intentions or desire of ever joining another company. I'm like, heck no, that was one of the worst experiences of my life. I'm not doing it. I got recruited by everybody. I got flown to Mega Camp and Remax's event, all that. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Finally, it was October of 2016. So almost 2 years after we had shut down our brokerage when I got a phone call from Brent. Now I'd known Brent for a long time, good friend of mine. He had even at one point considered buying into the franchise we were in. We'd talked about that and he decided against it. He calls me. I'm at Disneyland with my boys. I go, oh, Brent, I'm at Disneyland. Give me a call next week. He goes, okay. So then Tuesday, he calls. He goes, hey, do you want to go to lunch? For you guys who know Brent, he's super enthusiastic. I'm like, well, where are you, Brent? He goes, he goes, I'm across the street. I'm like, okay. So I go, all right, I'll come have lunch with you. So I go have lunch, spends about an hour asking me all kinds of stuff, never once mentions EXP. And I'm like, okay, Brent, what are you selling? I know you're selling something. He'd been involved in all kinds of stuff. I go, what are you selling? What is it? And he goes, meet me at my office tomorrow morning at 8 and bring Joe, my husband, Joe. And he goes, don't be late. I'm like, oh, okay, Brent. Right. And so my husband and I got up, we went to his office the next morning. I'm like, what did you do? This isn't your office anymore. Cause he had been he was with Keller Williams before. And now he was in like this Regis suite. And I'm like, what are you doing? We were so confused. So we go in, we sit down in his office. He's got Rob Flick, who did live go-to meetings back then. I don't know how you got brought in, but that's how we got brought in. So Rob's doing this live thing. Brent is sitting there the whole time eyeballing me. Like I picked up my phone and he's like, put your phone down. This is a true story. And I kept looking at him and I'm watching this thing with Rob and I'm literally about 10 or 15 minutes in. I'm like, this makes sense. And I looked at my husband. I said, I think we should do this. And my husband's like, well, let's, finish watching it. Let's go back and talk, and all that. Okay. So, I literally get teared up. I got emotional when I looked at it because it just made sense after having ran a brokerage for 22 years and all that went into that. And I just knew, we had blown through our brokerage. We had blown through all of our money, all of our retirement, several $100,000 in debt. It was a hot mess. And so we watched the rest of it and I said, well, we're going to go home and talk. We were up all night long, like Jay says, when you can't unsee it. And I'm thinking, how am I going to tell my agents again, we're moving, right? I went through all the psychology of it. And at the end of the day, I said, you know what? We have to really just do what is best for us and our family. And this makes sense. And so back then it's kind of funny because Brent tells the story too. It was like a, backwoods road with, all the potholes and everything. It was a hot mess. I'm not going to lie. It took us over a month to onboard the EXP. And there were only 1,400 agents at the company. So it was a hot mess. And I remember Glenn had come out and we all went to dinner and it's just it's so funny because it's different in some ways, but it's still the same in a lot of ways, you know?
It is. And, to your point, and I don't think you really understand at that point more so unless you've been in a situation to where you're running your own shop. And, that was us. And so we were, I didn't have my brokers. So we were dependent upon another agent, very dear friend, but he had to wear that broker hat.
Yeah.
And you start to look at that piece. You look at, I'm writing the E&O check every month.
Oh,
I'm writing the check to the attorney because the attorney's got to oversee and make sure that we're staying compliant, just in our relationship that we have with them. And it was more about, for me and for us in our decision, it was more about what I didn't have to worry about anymore than what I was going to gain. And I think
yeah.
that's really important for a lot of people when they're talking about opportunities. Most people are going to move to another opportunity because it's removing a pain
Right.
instead of being able to provide, euphoria, right? Always give the difference between, a vitamin company or a painkiller. And
Yeah.
you never want to be the vitamin company. You always want to be the painkiller. And I think for us, it removed, for me personally, it was hard because in just like for you, right? When you build your baby, you build your business, and it's a part of you. Sometimes we latch onto that identity and we got to write it. We got to write it down, right? We got to be, write it all the way to the bottom of the ocean. And sometimes that's not the smart move.